Hi, welcome to Refine Co. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the new Refine Times Tec Petaja preset collection. I have a large variety of images to show you how to use these presets, choose the right preset for the right image, and show you the flexibility of the presets so you can make it fit your vision in photography. So let's go ahead and get started. You can see I have everything here from outdoor greens, interiors, indoor lighting, more greens in different areas of the country, portraits on backdrops. We have ambient light, dark reception, end of reception, tropical greens, bright colorful receptions, a little bit of everything, and then coastal from our campaign shoot with Tech. So let's go ahead and just grab an image and get started. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video. Mainly because I want to show you guys a large variety. That way you have a really good handle on how to use the presets. First, let's take a look at the actual collection. So when you buy the Lightroom collection, I'm just going to work in Lightroom today. Obviously, we offer these in Capture One. We also offer Video LUTs videos coming for those soon. But Lightroom is definitely our biggest collection that most people use. And that would come with your mobile. And you can use that, of course, on your desktop or on your phone. The presets, and it also comes with the profiles. This is mainly, I have a video and I'll do a little link above. Mainly this is just workflow preference. So they both do the same thing as far as the preset itself acts the same, has the same effect. It's just about how you use them are different. So make sure you watch that video if you're not sure the difference between them. Some people prefer presets, some people prefer profiles. So we decided to offer you both. I'm going to go ahead and work with the presets today just so you can actually visually see what's happening and where we're making our tweaks. And in the Tec Petaja collection, we have 5 main color presets. These are all different varying tones. You're not getting one style 5 different ways. You're getting 5 very different presets, and they have different shadow tones, they have different highlight tones, they have different mid tones, they have different depth. And this is based off of the large collection of images that we worked off with Tech over the last year and a half. And what we noticed in his scans, he shoots Portra 400, 800, Delta 3200, and HP5 400. And we took that body of work and found the consistencies in all of his scans in different environments, different shoots. You know, Tech, he does portrait inside of a truck. He does portraits in studio. He does commercial work, travel all over the world. So he has a variety of environments he shoots in. And we realized that we needed a variety of color tones for that body of work that all work well together. And then we have the black and whites, which I mentioned, Delta 3200 and HP5 400, 2 strengths, 2 ambient lights. These are a little more of a underexposed or say high-speed shut or slow shutter type shots when you need a little more mood or a lifted underexposed shadow for your look. Those are great for that. They work great in dark reception areas. And then, of course, your workflow tools here and some quick undos. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this image. I'll just click through. I'm probably going to start moving in kind of fast. I'll stop on certain things and explain, but I'm trying not to make this video too long because I want to show you guys a wide variety. So beautiful greens. We see they're definitely more of a yellow green here. And I'm just going to click on the presets and let you guys see. Now, one thing I want to note is I do not have actual raw files for all of these, so I'm working off of a smart catalog for some of them, and you'll see the grain may look a little harder on a few. That's a Lightroom thing. With their newest update, they downsize the thumbnails and it makes grain look wonky on them. So please ignore that. But anyway, so we have Portra 1. This is probably the most cleanest, straightforward. 2 is definitely warmer, but that looks amazing. So if you like that kind of warm, a little, I don't want to say it's not muddy, but a little bit of a warm, dirty shadow, a little more mood. This is a great preset without your skin looking orange and weird. So it still gives that same vintagey vibe, but the skin looks amazing. The cheeks still pop. It looks great. It's actually one of my favorites out of this collection. 3, and you can see 3 has a much more lifted shadow compared to the other 2. 4, and then 5. 5 is also clean, And so 1 and 5 are probably the cleanest as far as like the cleanest whites. The difference is 1 has a cooler shadow tone than 5. You can see right there when I click between the two, the greens change, but they both have a green look or a clean look. So honestly, these are basically a one-click edit. I wouldn't have to do anything to this, and I would just move on. Let's go ahead and go ahead and adjust our horizon so it doesn't drive me crazy. And nice interior shot, and I'm just going to click through so this way you guys can see. And one thing I do want to point out, so with these presets, let me go ahead and do this. You're not going to want to overexpose too much. You're going to want to actually be at the midline and possibly under, because Portra has a lot of depth to it. In order to build a preset that gave you that same amount of depth, we had to really push the depth in the curve. So sometimes that will push those whites pretty high, especially if you were pushing on the overexposed side of the meter. So we suggest bringing it down a little bit, and that way they're closer to one click, as you can see here. And I'm going to click through. And you can see the first one is a softer version, still great depth and color. I mean, this looks amazing. Nice vintagey tones. Still nice and clean, very filmy. If you're looking for a crisp, clean, bright preset, this is probably not it. This is going to give you a true film, dense preset. So it's got great color, it's got some density to it, but it's not sharp and clean and overly saturated. But I did want to show you, we have added this little pop of saturation. We have minus and plus depending, because we've noticed on some scans they come back less saturated and some come back brighter. Is you can give your images just a slight little pop of color if you feel like they're lacking. And we really like this effect, and we use this a lot. And then of course here's to desaturate it as well, and we can go back to the original. So let's go ahead and look at this image. Love this shot. This was a commercial shoot that Tec did, and you can see right here how it went a little bright. So I'm just going to pull this down about half a stop. One, and look at that. So blue eyes pop, skin pops, great depth. Colors are all bright and vibrant, just like Portra. And this is one of the ones that I did not have the actual raw file for. And you can see just the variety that you get out of this. And that's beautiful. And so 3, you can see it pulled, actually it's 4, pulled a good bit of warmth out of his skin in comparison to 3. And that's great if you have somebody that has extra warmth in your skin. Let's say spray tan people, or if you're dealing with a lot of tungsten light, 4 would help neutralize that. And I'm going to go ahead and skip through. Nice mood light here. Let's take a look at it. And there's one. That's literally one click. I probably wouldn't do anything that. I could probably pull back the highlights a little because her blouse is getting a little blown there. And just super easy, one click. I've got a variety of files here too, because Tec was Canon shooter for years, and he's recently moved to the GFX50S. So I have some Canon and GFX files in here. I'm just going to go ahead and keep clicking. These are almost one click. That's why I'm not showing you a lot of adjustments on these, just so you can see. And so like that, I could probably push the black point a little to give it a little more of that thing. Maybe go ahead and pop the saturation to really let the henna show. And let's do this image. Okay, so here we have kind of an overcast, it looks, or right after sunset possibly, and bright greens, and it's a cool image. So let's just go ahead and warm it up just a touch. There we go. My computer had to think about that for a minute, and I can see I'm going to need a little more warmth, maybe a smidge of magenta. Oh, 5 looks really good on this. That allows the birch trees to have that nice white birch, and probably pull back the warmth on this just a little now that you see it here. Bring up the exposure a little. before, after. Let's do this one because it's got some great color. We do have some bright sun, but we're in the open shade, so it's a little cooler here on the front side. And let's go ahead and warm it up to where we need it. Pulling that exposure down. So that's one. And from here, I'd probably lift from the shadows instead of pushing exposure because I don't want to blow everything out. And I want the contrast, but I'm going to lift from the shadows because they are slightly backlit because the light is back here behind them, which made his suit dark. So I'm just lifting right here, and that allows it to look at that nice pop. And if we want a little more, we could add the pop of saturation. And that really gives that push that Portra has a lot, where you really get that you know, bright pop of color, but it's not neon. So we were very careful to make sure our greens don't go neon. And these colors don't go, you know, your magentas and your oranges don't go super neon either, but he has that nice Portra warm skin with the pinks in it. We paid very close attention to that. So let's go ahead and look at the others. 3 looks amazing on this as well. And again, this is just, it gives you some opportunity to decide what works for what shoot. What greens you were leaning for, what works for the palette of the shoot that you're working on. And again, you can see I keep lifting that suit up just a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and keep moving. I do want to do this one because completely different light. So we've done 3 lights from the same wedding. So this is just after sunset. The sun has just hit the horizon. So it's a little dark and moody, and definitely warmer tones off the bat compared to the other 2, which were open shade. And let's just do 1 click and take a look at our color palette, see where we want our white balance. So I'm watching his skin and smidge of magenta, and then click through. And if you feel like you need somewhere in between the 2, you can just pull back your contrast a little, you can pull back your black point, or like I've been showing you can lift your shadows. And I want to keep this a little moody because of the time of day. I don't want it to be super bright like it was midday. So I'm going to keep it a little darker. That looks amazing. Again, so if say I just wanted to go with the first one, I could also push the black point here as well. So there's a couple ways you can adjust that front side and those dark areas depending on how much contrast you like in your image. If you like a good bit of pop, your second one would be great for you, and then you would just lift his suit a little. And you could also cool this down so you get those warm undertones, but not as warm on the overall image. That looks great. Let's take a look at 5 real quick. And here's your cleaner version. Again with the pop, pull the contrast back just a little tiny bit, lift his suit, and let's go ahead and put saturation on that, and that's a gorgeous image. Before, after, and skin tones are looking amazing. And this is a Canon, let's see, I think this might be a 3. Yep, a 5D3. Okay, let's do a portrait. All right. I'm just going to click through them real quick so you can see them on a different, nice clean. You can see the differences in the skin tones. We have different levels of warmth in the skin, just different things we found when we were going through all the Portra scans. I like 5 on him. And I'm going to pull back the contrast just a tiny bit. I'm actually going to cool it down a little. And you can see just as I'm cooling down that you still maintain that warmth in the skin. Let's go ahead and give him a pop. There you go, just as easy as that. And if I wanted to pull back the highlights a little on his shirt, I could, but I feel like it gives a nice pop. And let's go ahead and take a look at a reception image. So I'm going to use one of the ambients on this. And we have 2 tones, one's cooler than the other. One's got the green undertones, one's got the blue, and this is what we found when, you know, shooting high, slow shutter I'm going to lift, and you can see this has, you know, if you're a film shooter, you'll recognize this, but it has those cool kind of darker shadows, and the oranges are still there, but they're a little more desaturated. A little bit of warmth in this. And this is if you were, you know, pushing your film or shooting at a very slow shutter because of the dark environment. And there you go. I'm going to reset this, and let's take a look at it through the regular presets, which you can also use. So you can see the difference. Not quite as muted in the shadows, a little more of a cleaner look. I'm just going to click through them all. I'm not going to edit this one. That actually looks really good on this set. 5 looks really good. So if you're looking for that cleaner, you can go with 1 or 5. And of course, the color palette in this overall is very gray and muted. Here's a nice moody ambient light. I'm going to go ahead and use an ambient on it because I think it really sets the mood. It looks very much like the film tones that you would get if you were to shoot this with film. Go ahead and get that nice medium format crop. And there you go. So it cooled down those greens, brought on those really nice Portra shadows and tones. Looks really good. Let's keep moving. All right, we got a little bit of food photography here. Let's go ahead and get the crop going. I'm a stickler for horizon, so I tend to do this first because it doesn't distract me while I'm editing. And same thing. So we have a bluish background, and you can see that we definitely get some shift in the blues. And then just click through and find the tones that fit. Ooh, I like 4 on this. I'm going to go with 4. Warm it up just a little to kind of get that rich chocolate color. Deepen the blacks for some dramatic on the food. Before and after. It looks gorgeous. All right, here, let's do a white. Oh, I already had that one edited. So here we'll be able to see the color shift a good bit since we're on a white background. Again, this is Canon 5D3, sorry. And you can really see how the skin changes. How the shadows change, how the highlights change, and do a pop of saturation. Really get that. This really has a reminiscence of a Portra 800. Look, I used to shoot this all the time indoors when I shot newborns and families, and I got stuck inside. That gave me that, and you can cool it down, warm it up, find your preference. There you go. Super easy. This is the one I showed in the Facebook group. If you're not in our Facebook group, definitely click the link below and join us because there's a lot of sharing in there, a lot of videos. I do a lot of edit videos inside the group. So that way you get to see the presets, all our preset collections in action there. So one click, I'm going to go ahead and give them a little warmth. And that's one click of 1, 2, stunning. There's really, this looks so much, just the deep dark blacks of the Portra. Love it. And it, like I said, it depends on if you're film matching or if you are digital shooter, which ones you pick. You'll just pick a palette and go with it. So say if I'm using 5, I'd probably stick with 5 for most of this. That way I know my greens are the same, my skin's the same. Maybe go between 1 and 5 depending on the shot. And say if you 2, this is a much more warm vintage look, then I would probably stick to these two for the whole shoot. That way you're staying consistent and the shoot makes sense from top to bottom. You can see these are practically one click on these. Again, Canon 5D3. So we can take a look at this. Oh, I was playing around with them the other day. I want to do this one so we can take a look at this blue. And they're kind of in a deep shade here. So go ahead and get the first click. Get our white balance where we want it. Watching skin tones, that's where I always watch my white balance. I want the skin to look the best, and I'll adjust from there if I need to. I like 5. All right, try to skip through. This one's fun because this is actually a JPEG image. Yeah, it's a JPEG image, so I want to show you. The presets go gray. Just for those that don't know, the reason that is because when it's a JPEG, the color profile is not, won't render. So it shifts to this because there is a profile attached to these. But once you shoot JPEG, you're saving whatever color profile you used inside your camera. So it's already embedded in the image. So it just takes that out. And same thing, let's go ahead and get our warmth where we want it. And that's gorgeous. I mean, one click, that looks like film. I really wouldn't do anything else to this. You can see these beautiful, rich portrait greens without going neon. I'm a stickler for that. I don't like neon greens, and we're seeing that a lot lately, and I think these look gorgeous because Portra is known for its greens, but they are not known for neon greens. They're rich, and they're subtle and beautiful, and I really wanted to make sure that we kept that in this collection. That looks gorgeous. Okay, and let's do this because it's a nice, fun color. And I know I'm going to have to turn her down a little bit. I think this is shot inside of Tec's truck, Teschel & Co. He has a beautiful glass window truck that he drives around and does portraits out of. It's kind of amazing. It's so inventive, and I think it's, especially, you know, this year, it was a great way to kind of do distance portraits and stuff, but it was kind of amazing. So I'm just clicking through so you guys can see the color palette on this and see how the colors shift. Let's go ahead and do another white. I think a lot of us probably shoot these type of bridal portraits. Touch of warmth. I don't think I'm going to put any magenta on here. I think it's just a tiny bit of warmth. You see how soft and delicate it is. I could push the light. One thing I've seen just in the group with people still kind of getting used to these is they are coming from the light and airy, you know, genre, and playing with, you know, these presets, and they're really not light and airy. Tec's work isn't light and airy. I think it's pretty authentic. Just has that beautiful Portra punch to it, but overall, you know, they're not pushed as far as pushing too light and airy. They allowed the shadows to soak, the colors to soak. They're rich, and okay, I'm gonna go with this. Definitely gonna warm them up because they're in the shade because of the bushes. So this one, what I'm doing is I'm gonna warm it up, bringing that exposure down because I don't want her dress completely blown out. We had a lot of contrast with the blacks of the bush. And then her white dress, so the camera was reading it like that. And then I'm lifting from the shadows and reducing contrast a little to balance the two out. There we go. Let me go ahead and show you the before and after of this real quick. And there's your before and after of that one. You like a warmer green, you can go with 2. 3, the greens cool down, but they're lifted and flat. Or the blacks are lifted and flat. 4, a bit of a neutral green, because you can see it's pretty much dead on to the green this is. I would say 1 gives you closer to that Portra look, and 3 definitely goes a little more of the cooler greens. 4 is pretty much natural, and 5. Let's do something with some new colors we haven't seen yet. Portra 1. And really don't have to do much to that. Could lift a little from here. So that's Portra 1 Plus, and if I throw on the saturation, I'm going to undo it real quick just so you can see, it's just a subtle pop, just enough if you're lacking some color and you need a little more, that'll give that to you. That looks gorgeous on there too. And if you needed to push these a little deeper, you could do it in the shadows. It really just depends on your style. You can push the contrast and then lift in here. That kind of gives you the best of both worlds. So you can really tweak these really fast and easy to make them your own. And you can see this is all with a variety of lights and lighting situations, white balances. And the key is getting your white balance straight and getting your exposure and contrast straight. All right, let's do one of these since it's after sunset. We know we're going to have to warm this up. Let's go ahead and see what auto does for us. Gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and pop that over here so you can see it. One click, that's stunning. Look at those beautiful blue colors in the background. So that's that Portra fill for you. That gives that nice, vibrant, rich, cool tone shadows, warm skin, soften the orange mids. And there's plus, again, stunning. So if you're moving from that deep, moody, warm look and trying to find something in between, here it is. So happy with that, how that preset turned out. I'm really excited about it. And it's definitely a venture away from my own style, so I'm having really fun with it because, you know, I came from the Fuji world myself, and I have just really enjoyed getting to know Portra better and embracing the color and the depth of it. I think it's just amazing. It really brings a vibrancy to everything. There we go. Actually, I'm going to do this one. Okay, so families, for you family photographers, this is obviously in the woods. Looks like we might be after sun, or we just have no sun, maybe possibly overcast. Completely cool. Going to go ahead and warm it up quite a bit. Got our skin tones a little more lively. We've got some, because of the dark environment, the whites are a little bright in areas, so we'll probably have to pull those down. But we got a variety of skin tones. Dad's a little more mid-tone. We have, you know, fair skin, you know, redhead, blonde, brunette. We got a little bit of everything, varying skin tones in between, and the whites. There's one click of Portra 1, so I'm going to adjust from there and adjust as I need to. I'm just getting the skin tones right. And I'll pull down the whites just a little so they're not too hot. And let's do before and after so you guys can see it. And there you go. That was a super fast edit. We've got those beautiful rich greens, and you can see they were kind of a yellow green here, but we get those beautiful Portra colors, the deep oranges that Portra's known for, good skin tones. So that looks amazing. You can see the difference, the shadow difference here, and that these are definitely a more muted. See, that's a crisper shadow, and this is more of a softer, more muted shadow. So that's a big difference between that one. But we did find that in a good bit of his work, so that's why we included it, to make sure you guys had that available to you, especially for those that are film matching. 5 looks amazing on this as well. All right, let's get into some portraits in our campaign shoot. These are going to be very quick because the lighting is just ideal. Some of you in the Facebook group have seen this one, the before and after, but you haven't seen it edited. And I just want to show you how fast it edits. So that was one click. So when you have your white balance and your exposure dead on, this is just how easy these are. So that's why it's important to really practice and get that white balance. If you can, dead on. We can always adjust that in post, but the exposure as well, because it's going to save you time in post-processing in the end. I'm just doing one clicks on these. It really doesn't need anything else. The grain looks heavy because this was one of the ones I don't have a actual raw file for. So I've already fussed at Lightroom quite a bit for that since they changed that on us, especially for those that do editing for people, because we're only getting smart catalogs, we're not getting actual raws. So it was a huge difference for us seeing this grain blow out like that, because it's honestly not that strong in real life. It's more like that. So that's one click. Look at the beautiful blues, vibrant but not fluorescent. The pinks are really popping on her lip. You know, you see the pink in her cheek. Nice warm skin tones like Portra is known for. If you like it a little deeper, I mean, look at that. I feel like that's just amazing. I get excited about these, obviously. And you can see the different palettes that you can choose. But the skin tone still looks amazing on all of them. I really like 5 on this too. You get that nice pink. 5 had that warmer, slightly magenta shadow. I mean, so subtle. I really, really hand tweaked it. You can kind of see it more up in here in comparison to 1. And it's so slight, but it's enough that it really does make a difference in the image and just gives you a different look. Let's take a look at little baby. This is not text work. This is actual Danielle Hobbs. She's so great about sending me images all the time to play with for her newborn. So something her and I talked about, she does natural light and studio light, is especially if she's looking to switch to these because she also got them, is to pull down her exposure a bit. We want to keep these whites under because we can lift. We don't want to get muddy, so we don't want to do this. But we don't want it to be where they're almost blowing out from the get-go. So it's a great shooting tip. Keep your exposure pulled down a little bit. And then that way when the presets run, and there you go. That's 1 click on a newborn. For me, I was a newborn photographer for years, and I did shoot film on them, but I generally pull the contrast back a touch on newborns because I feel like they just, you know, need some softness to them. And that looks gorgeous. See, I just feel like a little softness. If you could do it darker, if you really like some mood, and still, even with the darker one, if I pull that contrast back, I still get the depth, but I feel like it just softens them up a little. I just feel like babies are soft, and it should be a little softer on the back end. So let me do the dark one for you so you can see it, and then just pull up that contrast. And so you still have that nice rich depth, but he's softer. And here's from our campaign shoot in Dauphin Island, Alabama. Was such a unique place to go, but it was amazing. Gave us a really interesting environment. And there's 1 click. And that's amazing. These are GFX files, the 50S. And I think this is where Tech likes it. We use Plus a lot. I do text editing for him now. And I lean on Plus more because he likes a nice, deep, rich black. That's how a lot of his film turns out. And that nice, warm skin tone. The cool greens in the background. Bright whites. It just looks amazing. So I'll just click on the pluses here. There you go. And where are we at here? I'll go ahead and show you a portrait. So 1 click. Again, when you get that white balance and that exposure set, you don't have to do any work on your files. You can just click through them. So that doesn't, you know, when we're shooting, we're changing light, changing scenery, but in a situation like this where she's stationary and you're just shooting on a backdrop and you're moving around in the same light, you can pretty much keep it dead on the whole time. Get it set and rock with it. 5 looks gorgeous on that too. Love how we got that gorgeous pink, that warm Portra skin. And then if I didn't want to do the super dark one but wanted to give it a little pop, you could just push those blacks a little bit. And that's stunning. Let's do this one because it's got these gorgeous blue dress. You see how it immediately makes the color sing, and you throw the saturation pop on it. Nice warm skin tones, soft light in the back. you go. I wanted to show you this one. This is Tech, like myself. We both shoot with lenses that are manual focused a lot. So you get these soft focuses occasionally. I actually shoot them on purpose. I'm not sure if this was on purpose, but we both liked it. And this is a great chance for us to look at the black and whites, because I feel like when you get a nice soft focus like this and you throw a black and white on it, it just looks amazing. It looks more intentional. And it gives you a nice artistic image. And I wanted to show you guys this one as well. Oh, already edited. Thought I cleared most of these. Get that horizon straight. And I wanted to show you how, you know, with the contrast of these rocks and her, warm her up just a touch. I think we need a smidge of magenta. And she had a dual skin tone to her. Her makeup was slightly on the yellow warm side, and you know, her legs are a little more on the pink side, and that's just the preset. That's her actual tonage that we had here. So you notice that. There we go. And let's click through. That looks so fashiony right there. There you go. And let's take a look at this one. So we had these amazing candy color skies. And Tech did shoot film for this. I'll probably do a separate video with film matching. That way you guys can see that. And of course this is completely backlit. Sun is right here about to kiss the horizon. And so we were in the cool shadows. So the edits on these can be tricky, especially to get everything you want. So you have to kind of choose, you know, the lesser of two evils. Do you want your sky and keep it cool as you saw it, or do you want to push it to where she's the focus and just let the rest happen as it happens, as during the edit? The film came back where they focused on the model, and that way I'm going to edit very similar to that. So I'm going to warm her up, and I'm adding in some magenta because this is how a lot of the footage looked, because it was more of a pink blue. And you can see that also helps her skin tone be more natural, so that tells us that that's exactly how it was. Pull back these highlights a little so we get a little bit of that sky environment back. And there you go. So as soon as we warm up this area, you can see we still have that beautiful, if you really pay attention in here in the shadows, that blue cyan shadow, and which is very Portra, and beautiful skin tone. You still get those pinks in her lips and her cheek, and you still have a touch of that warmth from the setting sun. And if you wanted to focus on the sky, you're going to see how much we can push this, because there was quite a contrast because the sun was so bright right there. Is you can usually lift from the shadows, but I'm going to have to pull the contrast back a little so we don't get kind of weird and halo-y in here, because I'm really pushing the image outside of where it wants to be. And then you can do that as well. So that gives you kind of the best of both worlds. I feel like the other looked a little more like film, but if that's not your goal and you really wanted the best of both worlds, that's how you can push it there. Wanted to go back. There was an image in here. This one. I want to show you guys black and white on this, because this is a perfect example of, you know, a classic timeless wedding image that would look amazing in black and white. And I want to show you how you can adjust that to taste. So here's the one click and just exposure lifted. So if you like a flatter black and white, or if you're film matching and your scans came back a little flatter, just pull the contrast. We have these tone curves built in that kind of gives you the flexibility to do that. You can also lift the blacks, you can push the blacks, you can drop the shadow. It really gives you a lot of flexibility to get the look that you want or that you like, but still keeping the overall nice curve and tone. So there's a lot of depth and contrast and highlights in it, and then you can pick the level of flatness that you like in your image, or lack of flatness. Maybe you like a lot of contrast. But I hope that gives you guys a really good in-depth look at Refine times Tec Petaja. And definitely put comments below. Subscribe if you have not subscribed already. We are excited about this collection and can't wait to see your images. Join our Facebook group and follow us on Instagram. Thanks.